Desde las playas de Cartagena hasta lo alto de los Andes, la selva amazónica canta y la ciudad baila.
Alright guys, so welcome to Meli Talks, and as you know, this is a bilingual show, entonces voy a hacer un poquito de inglés, un poquito de español, pero hoy tenemos una invitada muy especial, entonces este programa va a ser más que todo en inglés, but don't worry, we got Spanish subtitles, we got English subtitles, entonces frescos, que todo eso se va a solucionar. Quiero presentarles a Nessa. So Nessa es alguien que, o sea, una persona muy especial para mí. And I'm super excited to have her here. We'll be talking to her. But today, in a turn of events, she's going to interview me. So Nessa, do you want to introduce
you?
yourself?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, she's really cool, guys, because I will speak 100% in Spanish and she will understand me. And respond to me in English. It's the funniest thing ever.
It is funny. It's because I've lived in South America for so long, and like I lived in Colombia, I've lived in Mexico, I lived in Ecuador, and then even growing up, like I lived on the border of Mexico, so it's kind of just something that became super natural for me. So it just kind of made sense that my life as an adult, like kind of like went to Latin America. So I feel like we joke around saying that she has her Filipino card and then I have my like Latin card. So we bonded actually because of that, because I walked into the dance studio and she was like, "Wait, are you Filipino?" And I said, "Yes." And she was like, "Yes, thank God," because she went to school in DC and she was part of the Filipino club, so she's got her Filipino card.
4 years, baby.
So yes, thank you so much for having me. So I'm gonna be interviewing Melissa today, and we're gonna be talking about her journey as a pageant queen representing Colombia for Miss Planet International, which is a huge international pageant. And the competition is very, 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 how do you say, very tough.
Intense.
It's very intense. And I remember she told me, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to be doing this pageant." I was like, "Girl, who's helping you?" So I was like, okay. So for me, between 2015 and 2017, I had my reign as Miss Philippines Earth. And so I didn't have much guidance. I had to kind of figure it out on my own. Plus, I also had like the blessing of having like a bunch of girlfriends that were also in Miss Universe and Miss World and stuff. So we kind of like co-collaborated with each other, and I got to prepare myself through that. So when Melissa started to do the pageant stuff, I was like, okay, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this. And I don't know, like, what has your experience been so far since that conversation?
I realized how lost I was. I am so happy, and like you caíste como del cielo, to be honest, because I was like, I didn't realize the extent. I come from a competition background in sports and dance, and so I thought, okay, this is another competition. Let me approach it in a similar way. I watched some videos, and the organization, each one is different, to be honest. Miss Planet International is very unique. And what really attracted me to it was that it's a sustainability pageant. So not only is it the whole beauty pageant aspect, but the focus is on environmental advocacy. And I have a lot of professional experience in this, outside of my artistic career. I work in a hospital, but even before that, I worked at the CDC, the Centers of Disease Control and Protection, and I was actually in the Environmental Hazards and Health Effects Division. So I've done a lot in pollution, in microplastic consumption. Yes, we eat this stuff. Endocrine disruptors, a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it just like it was a full circle moment. And I was like, I need a challenge.
Yeah. You're kind of like, this aligns with me. Okay, so when you first started your pageant preparation and where I kind of like walked in, how far along were you in the preparation progress?
So I was basically, I approached it like school. So I had the rubric of the things that I needed, and I had gotten what I thought was like some evening gowns that I was gonna add stones and do the thing similar like I would do in a dance thing. And so I was pretty much there, not very far along. I would say maybe 25%. And then when you came in, you were like, okay, we need this, and I was like, oh my goodness. Thank you.
There's so much. I mean,
There's so much.
There's so much more to like beauty pageants than just like looking pretty and showing up. Like there's one, you're like, pageants can be like, as amazing as they can be, like it puts you in a vulnerable place.
Oh my gosh, yes.
In comparison a lot of the times. Like where I was when I was competing, I was constantly comparing myself, whether it was height, body, whatever. And I was like rail thin. So being that like this is such like a high level competition, and then like 80 girls or something like that, you're just it's just a very vulnerable place. So it's preparing your body, preparing your mind emotionally, and then on top of that, like not just having a gown, but like having an on stage like really like wow kind of piece. Then what, your national costume, right? And then your other gown, then all the outfits for all the events that they have, which is like 10 days.
Yeah. It's a lot. And you're absolutely right. I'm so happy you touched on the vulnerability part, because I've gone through so many versions of myself, from like teenage, early 20s, and now in my 30s. Like this is big, and I didn't know how big it was, to be totally honest. A casting director reached out to me, and I applied to a lot of casting things randomly because I'm ADHD AF. And so it happens. And so I reached out, and I didn't remember 100% everything that I had done or written or whatever. And so I was very much so like, oh, this seems like a very unique opportunity. I read about it. I saw that it was with the Sustainable Development Goals, and that brought me back into grad school. And I was like, okay, let me try this. Like, this would be fun.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, and I like pretty things anyway. And so, but you're absolutely right. This is a lot bigger than what I anticipated. And I'm going to be basically in front of thousands of people in an international stage, showcasing who I am, and maybe a different version of myself would look at that and like cry and run away. But I think because I have gone through what I have gone through in the competition dance world, it's made me a stronger person. And what I really hope to accomplish with this is to be a role model and really understand what embracing yourself means today.
What does that mean for you?
You're changing every day. The person that you are, the way that you look in this moment is not going to be the same in 3 months. It's not the same 6 months ago. And so it's about accepting yourself in every chapter of your life. Sometimes there's chapters that we like better than others, just like any other book, but you're still about self-love. I had the privilege of doing a lot of self-development training this year in 2024, and it completely changed my life. And I think because of that training, I feel more comfortable exposing myself to this kind of environment because I understand the growth that's going to come with it. And so I genuinely think because of that, I am more open to all kinds of stuff, like a lot of different opportunities, a sentimental, personal level to a professional level to doing an international beauty pageant, like all these things. And it comes with when you are passionate and you stand for something. I connected with this. I connected with the mission of this pageant, genuinely.
Yeah.
So I said yes. Did I know what I was saying yes to? No, I did not. But that's okay. I'm learning and I'm loving every minute of it.
You're like, ooh, pretty things. Let's do it. Yes. No, but I'm honestly like so glad that you did it. I honestly, when you told me that you were doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, Meli, this is a lot of work.
You did say that.
I did. I was like, you have no idea what is about to come. But I was like, I'm not going to let you, jump into the sharks by yourself. So,
Nessa's coming with me, by the way.
yeah. So I'm going to go.
Coming. She's my pageant director.
I'm her manager and coach and like everything. So I see Melissa as my sister. So I really wanted to make sure that like she was taken care of. She has like all of her bases covered, and mostly like I just didn't want her to feel like unprepared or alone in this. So when I found out it was in Cambodia, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go to that. That's like a pretty big commitment. And then I was just like, you know what? F it. We're doing this. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it like all the way.
I think the dates worked out great too.
It did.
You're going to Bali, like.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of like, oh, I might go to Bali this year, blah, blah, blah. But it kind of just worked out that way because it was on my mind, but I just couldn't convince myself to like just make the commitment to do it. So from Cambodia, I'm going to go to Thailand to Bali probably to the Philippines, and then we'll see from there. So this is really like starting off like this new like chapter in my life also. So I feel very like this is such an initiation for me to kind of go with you, have this experience with being a supporter in something that I wish someone was able to support me in. And we always have fun everywhere we go. Like we've traveled together and it's just always so much fun. So why not now? And then the networking in my industry. Like I'm a photographer. And so I work more like on the fashion industry side of things. So I was like looking at the roster and I was like, man, I should really like take advantage and just connect with not just the owners and the like higher ups in the pageant organization, but also with the girls, so maybe I could get some really great content and, we'll see from there. But tell me about like the most challenging part about this process, any insecurities, any like difficulties other than money, that's usually the hardest part.
The hardest part. So a lot of the challenges have been internal and external. From an internal perspective, it was like being physically prepared for this. I'm coming from a torn MCL injury that happened in July. I think around the same time I got the casting. So I wasn't able to work out. I wasn't able to be very physical. And so that was a big challenge because I'm active. And then when you're not active, but you're used to being active and you eat the same, well, not a good combination.
Yeah.
So I was coming from an injury, and so that sucked. And then from an external perspective, I feel like my family's health issues just like exploded. I personally have had some health issues earlier in 2024, which hormonally has caused a whole like host of unfortunate series of events. And so like my body has changed from 2020. You remember last year to this year.
Yeah. I remember last year when we were in Colombia, I remember like looking at you and I was like, damn, her body looks fire. Like you were just like at the best shape of your life. I remember that.
Yeah. So I had some health stuff. But
Plus, like the emotional,
oh yeah,
like roller coaster you must go through with hormones and like your body changing and not being able to do the physical activity that your body is used to.
yes,
It's like a internal, just like downer.
it was.
Yeah.
It was. And because I wasn't able to dance, I was teaching consistently. I was performing consistently. I have my own dance team. And I had to cancel a lot of gigs. I had to postpone a lot of our stuff. The girls ended up debuting without me and a lot of things. And so psychologically, I was so sad that I wasn't able to dance. So this coming along was honestly, it came at a good time and a bad time, but a good time emotionally because I was like, okay, this is something else that I can focus on because I can't really dance right now.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I was like, I think I was more propensa to say yes. And then, health issues with my grandmother. My uncle passed away I guess a month ago now. And so just everything was just cascade. Like the last month has not been fantastic.
Yeah.
But what doesn't, kill you makes you stronger. And so I do feel better. And I know that high pressure situations create diamonds. So
Yeah.
I really feel the pressure of change. You guys ever feel that? Like, things are changing and you're just like, crap. I can feel it. It hurts. Change hurts.
And you resist it.
Of course, because you're outside of your comfort zone. And it's just, it's very annoying. And things are going, a new season of your life, new characters are going to be unlocked.
Yeah.
And it's just a painful experience, but longitudinally, it's a blessing because you want to evolve.
Yeah.
You don't want to be stuck in the same situation forever, right? So looking at it from that perspective.
Yeah. I think one of the most toxic things that we can do in our adult life is to believe when people say, you've changed, and it's a negative thing, right? I've heard this so many times over the past years with just like myself or like people I've been in relationships with, like their feedback is like, you've changed. And it's like, thank you. I want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the same place. No. You shouldn't either. But you know what? We all have our own journeys. And sometimes what you resist persists. So if you're resisting change, the rest of the world is going to move on without you, and then you're going to be left not being able to adapt. Right? So I commend you for doing this challenge despite the hormonal stuff, the body stuff, the losses, the low-key depression.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff that you were committed to probably added a lot more pressure. Right. So even though you did commit to this, and I thought it was a little bit nuts to do that at this time, I think really it has shown so much growth for you over the past couple months that I haven't seen in you before, actually. So, yeah, no, really, there is a sense of maturity and accountability and responsibility that I've witnessed and experienced from you over the past couple months because of this. And you're very much a yes person. And I think you're a lot more intentional about that now because it comes from a place of purpose, right? And speaking of purpose, tell me a little bit, because I did some research about the pageant, right? It has its own mission statement and platform. And I saw the coolest thing about it. I wish I had this at my pageant, but you guys get to have the chance to represent at the UN, as in the United Nations. That is the coolest thing that I've ever heard of in a pageant. So tell me a little bit about that.
So that's exactly why I did this, because I saw that and I was like, oh, it's so freaking cool. So I think every 15 to 30 years or something, the United Nations sets some goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. And there's currently 17 of them. So the purpose of this pageant, because they're also focusing on environmental advocacy, is for the delegates or the candidates to be able to propose a number 18. And these are goals such as like eliminating world hunger, women's rights, right to education, right to well-being, health and well-being, clean water access. These are fundamental things universally, like that people go through, not having access to, you know, that unfortunately creates a lot of disparities. And so for me, my number 18 is going to be related to health advocacy. And this also ties into the Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which is the health and well-being. But my health advocacy is tailored because of my experience working in immigrant health. My current job, I work in Northside Hospital here in Atlanta. I have to go to all of them, but I did start at the one in Gwinnett. Gwinnett County is the largest growing county in Georgia. I'm talking a plethora of ethnicities, everything, literally everything. It's like probably one of the most diverse counties, honestly, probably in the Southeast, because there's like refugees communities and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so being in this and in my role, I was a transitions coordinator. Now I do project management for clinical programs and I work with different contracts. But I was able to develop a program for dialysis patients that don't have insurance. That was the main thing. You didn't have insurance. They didn't care if you were documented or not. I know being documented or not documented is a big deal, and your capacity to have access to healthcare, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But it's very true.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of people that are here undocumented and they're really sick, you know, and preventative medicine is the best medicine. But if you don't have access, things are expensive. You're not going to take care of your health. You're going to work. You're going to work. You're going to work until you can't work anymore. So this is what happened. And so I was able to develop a program alongside one of my colleagues who works at a kidney or a dialysis company. She's fantastic. And together, her and I, we bridged this gap for about 30 patients. This was back in 2020. So this was like right when COVID started. We were seeing patients like in January, and then COVID hit, and it was like, oh my gosh, what do we do? But obviously we had to keep going. And it fell perfectly in place. Because we did this program, we reduced the amount of people going into the ER for routine dialysis. You should be able to get dialysis with your healthcare 3 days a week. And your health insurance will cover it, and you'll survive. If you don't have health insurance, you go to the hospital. And I had patients that would eat bananas in the ER. You're not allowed to eat potassium. They would literally eat bananas in the ER so that their potassium would spike enough so that they would meet criteria so that they could get dialysis.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's really sad. Pause. And so, you know, just being able to bridge that for dialysis patients was the biggest deal. And guess what? All of them were Hispanic. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them were Spanish speaking. I was the only Spanish speaker in my department, period, which I thought was insane. And so just being able to be educated and have that knowledge and be able to help Latinos in Gwinnett, in Georgia, lo que sea, like, that was so important. And it really brought me to what I'm passionate about and what I know my life purpose is.
So tell me how that would be represented at the UN for you.
So that's what be represented in the UN because my vision is health advocacy is a fundamental human right. Access to healthcare is a fundamental human right. So there should be things, safeguards in place so that anybody, regardless of your age, if you have papers, no papers, lo que sea, that you're able to see your PCP, okay? Que vayas a un chequeo, que la presión alta, que si necesitas medicina, oh, I cannot afford my medications, okay, no pasa nada. O sea, there's different programs that exist, you know, in order for you to get that. Heart medications, you know, there's patient assistance programs. It doesn't matter if you're resident, ciudadano, lo que sea, you have access to this because you live in the country.
And not just here in the United States, like there's so many resources like in so many other countries that just people are just not educated about it and they don't know. So would you say like as if you were to win Miss Planet International, because I know that as Miss Colombia, you're already active doing this. You're already active doing this in your community for other Latinos, which is amazing. You're already like, your life is your platform, which I think is just gold. So as Miss Planet International, like how would you go about doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if I were to be honored to be Miss Planet International, my main goal would be to bring awareness because there are immigrant stories that you don't know about. And I'm not just talking in the US. I'm talking about people that are escaping war, war in Gaza, war in Venezuela, like Myanmar, what happened in Myanmar, 3 years ago. So there's all these things that happen and people are xenophobic en la realidad, and being able to bring awareness to health in general and having that platform regardless of your economical status. You know, a lot of it is, okay, I live en un lugar en el campo. I live in a place very, very rural where I don't have access to hospitals. It's a 2-hour drive, you know, or walking distance, 2-hour walk, whatever. Entonces, I feel like bringing awareness to this issue, primeramente. Segundo, apoyando las organizaciones, really supporting the organizations that are meant for this.
Yeah.
Shining that light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So tell me, Melissa, as we're wrapping up, what is your purpose in life? Not just for the pageant, but what do you feel is your soul's purpose?
I feel that my soul's purpose is to empower and to inspire. Esas dos palabras, empoderamiento, inspiración, those are my favorite words. And I really believe that it is my life mission to empower and to inspire, not just, it starts within, pero también other people, other women, other girls, you know, that maybe feel XYZ because el color de la piel, you know, yo soy morenita. I'm tanner complexion. I'm born in the United States, but my family is Colombian. Okay, ahí está otro problema, right? First generation immigrant. And there's a lot of us, right, that we're like in the middle. Not too American, not too Colombian. So you're kind of like, you go to Colombia, y te dicen gringa. You come here, but I mean, you get called like you're not American because I look how I look. And Spanish is my first language. And so all these things is like, entonces, where do I belong? Ni de aquí, ni de allá. You know, and I feel like a lot of people, there's a whole generation of people that are like this, you know. But think about it. If you're born in Mexico or Colombia or Brazil or lo que sea, and you choose to migrate to another country, you have kids. Are those kids not from the same place that you're from? Obviously not.
Right.
Entonces, you have to also think about it from that perspective.
Yeah. I bet that's like a very interesting experience right now representing Colombia and like being also Colombian American. But it's true. I mean, like I've met your parents. They are Colombian. You know, your dad doesn't even speak English. So it's like you're as Colombian as you can be.
Some other things that I feel very passionate about in being like a role model is body positivity. I feel that today there is a big movement and it goes in extremes, you know, and I feel that more than anything else, what I represent is embracing natural beauty, embracing yourself in the chapter that you're in right now. That is health focused, fitness conscious, not going overboard with anything, right? You don't want to starve yourself, but you don't want to ser embelequera and be gluttonous and go too far either, right? It's about what's healthy for you in this moment, you know, you'd be surprised how many people of different BMIs are pre-diabetic. You would never guess that. Entonces, en realidad, it's just about being health conscious. And for me, embracing that natural beauty, embracing your curves, y sabiendo que, hey, ahorita me veo así, next month, I don't know, va a ser diferente, todo bien.
And you're just coming, like representing as yourself. Like, this is who I am.
Sí.
And I think that's so, I mean, it's a brave thing for everyone in general, just pageants in general. But like to say that and really vibrate on that confidence is super inspiring. And I think that you can really inspire a lot of not just women, or Colombians or Latinos, but like little girls, you know, who are, you know, we're in a social media era. And so it's just full of comparison. So I think I'm really excited to watch you on stage. Is there anything else that you would like to say? Just like our last little bit of our show, I want you to say anything that comes to you towards Colombia.
Yeah, definitely. Yo creo que mi meta con este reinado en realidad es demostrar que Colombia tiene mucho que aportar. Obviamente está la belleza. Y más allá de la belleza está la intelectual. O sea, está la innovación de ideas. Beauty and brain es mi meta. En realidad es mi meta. Soy bailarina profesional de salsa, entonces yo entiendo mi cultura como es. So, del baile a la música, la alegría, pero fuera de allí también somos una gente con unas ideas espectaculares. COP16 estuvo en Cali. That's all. It's an environmental convention with over 100 countries talking about environmental advocacy. O sea, what? Y en Cali, Colombia, my hometown, my family's hometown. Entonces, mi meta en realidad con todo eso es demostrar eso. ¿Qué innovación, qué ideas, qué intelecto son capaz la gente colombiana? O sea, somos fuentes de alegría, fuentes de música, qué baile, qué modelaje, qué actrices y científicos. Pues pucha, también somos científicos, somos gente educada, porque toda la gente es educada. Mucha gente va a universidades que sacan sus posgrados, viajan a diferentes partes del mundo, son profesores. O sea, you'd be surprised how many people like are so educated. Y hay que demostrar eso. I want us to see that side, not the stereotypical all the time, pero hey, different facets.
I know. There's just so much more to like the stereotypes, you know. So is there anything that you want to say to your home country before we take off?
Of course. Vamos con toda. Eso va a ser algo obviamente difícil, pero estoy súper emocionada. Muchas gracias a todos por el apoyo, el amor que me han brindado. Espero representar este país fuertemente, obviamente demostrando todo el talento, todas las ideas innovadoras que tenemos. Y muchas gracias a todos. Miss Planet International. Vemos en Camboya en un par de semanas. O sea, esto va a estar fuerte. It's coming up. Oh, claro. Cali es Cali, lo demás es Loma. Sorry, se tenía que decir.
Can you tell the audience where they can watch the pageant and how they can support you?
Absolutely. So this pageant va a ser via YouTube. So it'll be live stream in YouTube. You can support me. Mis redes son @the.melidelgado. So you can follow my pageant journey. I'll be posting every day. Please DM me. I have a lot of different projects that I'm working on. Y pues cualquier apoyo, un like, un share, si quieren contribuir de cualquier manera. En realidad que es espectacular. Miss Planet International also has an app. Miss Planet International. It's found on Apple, on Google Play. Vote for me. That would be fantastic as well. So, vamos por esa.
Yeah, so remind us the date. It's actually November 28th?
Yes, November 28th will be the final. I think that's what it'll be televised. So that's on Thanksgiving.
That's on Thanksgiving.
U.S. Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So, hey, guys, you're going to be eating some turkey. If you live in the United States and you celebrate that, watch me while you enjoy a feast.
Because we'll be hungry. So is that the day of the voting also?
The voting starts now. Live voting
voting is now. Okay, so they can vote via the app.
Correct.
Miss Planet International.
That is correct.
Okay, guys, so make sure you download the app, start voting. We need all the support that we can get, especially like we have a very small, unfortunately, like a very small group that's going to be physically there in Cambodia for Colombia and all the other Latino communities and countries. So let's really show them that like we are a very strong group and we're tight knit and we have the Queen's backs. So make sure you vote, download the app. Thank you guys for watching our show. Thank you for listening. I really hope that we were able to inspire some of you girls, you ladies, not just to do a pageant, but also like love yourself and be proud of yourself. So thank you guys thank you our sponsors. Thank you to designers. Thank you for family. Thank you for everybody for being here. And we will see you next time on Meli Talks.